Hello.
All right, welcome back to the Business Exchange, the show where we dive into the ideas, people, and innovations shaping industry and redefining the future. I'm your host, Joseph. Today I'm joined with Jay Frank, founder and CEO of Symbiotic, a platform where transactions help rebalance the planet. Symbiotic embeds transparent, accountable social impact directly into mission critical business services like telecom, internet, cloud hosting, and data center procurement. It's not a charity on the side, it's impact built into the transaction itself. Jay's journey from telecom consultant to impact driven founder is rooted in purpose, moral conviction, and a belief that capitalism can evolve and must evolve towards conscious action. Jay, welcome to the Business Exchange.
Well, thanks for having me, Joseph. It's great to be here and to steer the vision of Symbiotic to help rebalance planetary inequity one transaction at a time, and a brand of possibilities to be the change we collectively seek. Appreciate the invitation and happy to be here.
Great, you're quite welcome. So, Jay, before Symbiotic, you were a consultative technology advisor. What was missing in your early entrepreneurial journey?
I was, just knocking on doors, selling local telephony services before I started. Uh, Sorry, forgive me. I jumped the gun there. So what was missing in my entrepreneurial journey was purpose and a sense of knowing that I had this vision to help be the change we collectively seek. And the miss was, just getting started. So I'm
Yeah,
still on this path. Yes.
perfect. So, what did combining purpose with procurement unlock for you psychologically and commercially?
It unlocked the possibilities of helping rebalance systemic inequity. Procurement is buying, and there's a framework of folks around the world that procure massive frameworks of infrastructure that equate to components of capitalism itself. So here we have this way to lead with impact, to transact, and procurement has the demand. So I see the demand with procurement where there are 25,000 professionals pledging sustainability within the sustainable procurement pledge that keeps expanding, knowing that we're in this climate crisis, a Nepali crisis, a medical crisis, whatever we call it. But transactions have the innate ability to compensate by the sellers in the commission. And what Symbiotic looks to do is to layer into the selling side and redistribute the commission from profit only to profit and purpose, and carving out social impact in the form of embedded philanthropy, which is the set impact we're talking
Oh, excellent. So, when your business partner bought you out, giving you a runway to leap, what was going through your mind?
about. I'm like, this is great. Finally get to get off the hamster wheel of trying to fit where I wasn't really that fitting, and explore, and not explore, but to do the things we talked about. However much difficult it would be, it was great, but it was a little bit daunting, or a lot of bit daunting, and here we are.
Yeah. So, what was the where? Sorry, was there a moment when you realized this wasn't a side initiative but a movement?
Yeah, when I saw, there's an analyst that covers the space, recognizable, or leading analyst covering the space of ecosystems, distribution, and whatnot. They let me know that 75% of world's trade flows indirectly, and channel sales is a framework of, indirect sales. So when I saw that space and the opportunity and the brand name possibility of Symbiotic, within that framework, this could absolutely, help spark a movement of profit and purpose within business as usual.
Perfect. So, at its core, what problem does Symbiotic solve for businesses?
Well, that's a good question for, typical business as usual. However, it solves a lot of problems. From my start, I sucked as a salesperson because I couldn't BS or smooth talk the gatekeeper to get in front of the decision maker for the solutions they were looking for. So that was my problem. My solution was to begin the original Telecom for Charity was the proof of concept first version of this, and that was my solution to lead with impact to transact. So the initial problem is the seller. How does he get in front of opportunities? And by leading with impact, there's the solution to get in front of the opportunities where the buy side gives a damn. They might have commitments for a CSR person or an ESG person. We can solve those. We can support those frameworks easily in transactions at no added cost as value add.
Perfect. So, many companies pledge ESG commitments but struggle to operationalize them. Where's the disconnect?
Well, the disconnect is clearly in the weaponizing of the acronyms of ESG and DEI. So, yes, but when you break it down, I think, that's a huge thing that we need to do is just spell them out. Environmental, social, and governance. And I'm going to include DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. These are the frameworks of balance. And clearly, you don't need to look very far to recognize we're out of sync, in terms of society and planet and whatnot. And there's a lot of things coming apart. So, the disconnect is really just awareness. What are we looking at here? Yeah, yes, we need a box of nails for this infrastructure requirement, but how does it get here? We think about this box of nails from the sales side of the buy side, or the procurement and distribution and supply chain and whatnot. But what if we looked at another way that offers more, that supports ESG, that gives us a better look? And that's what Symbiotic looks to do, is to look good, specifically proving the social impact easily, in transaction with technology that is just there for the taking. The blockchain proves, maps, and brands it, which is a firm support of governance. The nonprofits we look to support only align with the Sustainable Development Goals, which is a framework of the E, the environmental, part of it. And the S is social. What's the people? We live here. This is our home. This is we only have one, so we have to try and rebalance. And Symbiotic is a vision of rebalancing planetary inequity one transaction at a time, much like the easy button that Amazon produced for ease of consumption and ease of transaction. Symbiotic looks to be the easy button for social impact within transactions. So that's the possibility of a massive brand of profit and purpose that is right here.
So, walk us through a telecom or a cloud transaction. Transactions become an embedded impact vehicle.
Well, yeah, so there's distribution channels out there. They're unbranded, and they have their goods and services that their sellers connect with to go to market and sell it. So let's just say, hypothetically, the Grand Ole Opry. there's just a name on my coffee mug, but let's say that they were, updating their internet requirements, or they needed to do some conferencing. There's an opportunity. They have a want. So the sellers, they work with the distribution channels to supply the want, the need of the businesses. So let's say the Grand Ole Opry again, is looking for a conferencing or cloud services or whatnot, and the seller becomes aware of it, and they're trying to get in front of the Grand Ole Opry, but they can't because they don't know how to get in there, and there's relatively closed doors. So the seller can say, "Hey, I'm partnered with Symbiotic, and I'm a subject matter expert in this requirement, but I need to get in front of this opportunity. So I'm going to say, hey, I'm partnered with Symbiotic too. If we win the business alone and the merit alone, only do we earn the commission, and therefore we partner with the Symbiotic, share some of that commission, which is the redistribution. We redistribute it, and we carve out the social impact, the embedded philanthropy, and we could support, the Red Cross, or we could support, country musician, nonprofits, any nonprofits that fuel the sustainable development goals. That's the premise. So when we use the social impact to get in front of the opportunity, and if you win the opportunity only on the merit, do you earn the commission? That's in the partnership with Symbiotic's embedded with the distribution channel. The distribution channel gets 100% of the commission, and they share it with the seller and Symbiotic versus seller and distribution channel. So we're an extra layer. We're looking to be a SaaS platform, software as a service, social impact as a service that can layer into any distribution channel and any procurement platform, and eventually we're going to harness AI to connect the dots between opportunity and seller or subject matter expert seller to actually accelerate procurement by leading with impact. So the possibilities harnessing technology and leading with impact are just radically common sense. So that's why I'm so beholden to it, because it just makes so much sense, and I say it's like a Trojan horse within capitalism itself to help rebalance planetary inequity, and I stand by it.
Gotcha. So let's talk numbers. How does Symbiotic generate revenue while embedding social impact?
Well, right now we're just visionary, but the plan is to infiltrate business as usual, and the cost of doing business with Symbiotic is mapped out right now at 30%, which is significant, for a seller to forego 30%. We use the social impact as a cost of doing business. So right now people pay for leads, they use kickbacks. We're trying to be another way to choose when you want to go to market. So 30%, we come right off the top. 25 of 30 is the embedded philanthropy. We're going to map brand crew to the nonprofit the customer chooses. So the Grand Ole Opry, let's say, buys the data center services and therefore commits or kicks out a commission to the seller, distribution channel, and Symbiotic's a partner. We get 30%. We take that 30%, 25 goes to the Red Cross, 5 of 30 is the revenue model. Pardon me, for Symbiotic. And it's going to take some time. We're taking a very small percentage of the transactions, 5% commission, but eventually, we want to brand it and eventually attract opportunity, and that's a game changer. We could attract fitting opportunities that are vetted actually for the seller. The cost of business of social impact, pays for itself easily.
Perfect. So how do enterprise buyers respond when you frame procurement as a dual ROI, financial plus impact?
Well, honestly, it's like pulling teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is I've been on this path for a very long time, and most folks are very much in the box, as much as they recognize the need for change. It's like, so you have to make it really as simple as possible, and we're not there yet, but when, I've spoken to some high-level folks, like the founder of the Sustainable Procurement Pledge, a gentleman by the name of Thomas Uderson, who is the chief procurement officer at Bayer, who said to me, if you get it in our procurement platform, I will advocate for it. So it's a matter of time, but I think we'll be there before too long.
Gotcha. Yeah, like everything, you got to work hard. You got to plug in and get it done, right? All right. So, are you seeing stronger retention because of the impact component?
Well, right now, just a visionary, like I said, but good question, because once we're established and building the SaaS platform, we're looking to add a gratitude component, which would thank the customers from their supporting nonprofit, the social impact partners. So imagine Red Cross calling up the Grand Ole Opry, or just not calling up, this is a message that the gratitude program would enable quickly. Hey, thank you, Grand Ole Opry, for partnering with Symbiotic. Without your support, we wouldn't be able to do X, Y, Z. So thank you. And therefore, we're cementing retention and probably going to offer some reverse churn, recognizing the goodwill that customers facilitate in everyday transactions at no added cost. So beyond retention, reverse churn. It just makes sense on every which way. I haven't seen any kind of downside minus greed and business as usual, which clearly needs to be disrupted.
Gotcha. So long term, do you see Symbiotic as a marketplace, infrastructure layer, or financial instrument?
All the above. Symbiotic looks to be a SaaS platform, like I said, that layers into procurement platforms, distribution ecosystems, marketplaces, and wherever. We can go anywhere there's a commission. Symbiotic looks to infiltrate and redistribute. And eventually, it's so known and easily flowing, and the technology's there. You want to be the antithesis of an Amazon.
Right, right. So, as a CEO and founder, what keeps you up at night right now?
Oh, good question. Just the lack of, of the lack of openness and awareness, recognizing the imbalances and of wealth and climate change, meta crisis, poly crisis. We talked about the plastics in the ocean. I have 2 children. The world that my children are inheriting. And the human nature stay the same. And how long will I be successful? Will I be able to break through before it's too late? For me, because I'm not going anywhere. I have this vision and commitment and conviction to stay the course. So, will I remain sane? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So, is the biggest challenge market education, adoption speed, or capital?
I would say market education awareness, yes, awareness to just really consider, the frameworks of investment, technology harnessing, and capital. The capital's out there. There's climate anxiety capital. There's no easy button for this is vision. There's really no. So I'm sorry. All the above. There's no
Yeah.
answers for it.
Yeah. So, how difficult is it to convince traditional procurement teams to rethink frameworks?
Oh, it's super difficult. Like I said,
Yeah.
it's like pulling teeth. It's like I'm a dentist without dental school. But hey, come on, free dental training. But
Yeah.
again, I stay strong because there's demand there. They're saying things like the signals are there. The Sustainable Procurement Pledge, you could just look that up on LinkedIn or on the internet and see there's thousands of people. So the early adopters, it's not long before we break through, and there's some allies and advocates that are starting to come together to help me. And I don't think it's going to be much longer.
Good, good. I hope so for you. So, have you faced skepticism around impact washing concerns?
Oh, of course, absolutely. The first meeting I had actually a long time ago, there was someone that took a very long time to meet on this framework, and she looked at me across from me like, "This is greenwashing." I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, that's your automatic response," but not too much of late, but the actuality is that's all we do is to carve out social impact as a cost of doing business within businesses we do. So it's kind of a ridiculous statement.
Right, right. So scaling movements require culture. How do you protect the mission as you grow?
Oh, there's no problem there. There's no BS here. Put a bullet in my head if there's any kind of starting out. There's all we do. This is the business model.
Gotcha.
The impact to transact, and that's the only thing we're looking to do. In terms of selling out or protecting the mission, I don't think that's. And I thought about it a lot over the years, but I don't see any red flags. But I'm sure a lot of leaders and visionaries have felt the same, but I'm pretty strong.
Gotcha. So if growth stalled tomorrow, where would you look first to diagnose the issue?
Well, growth has been stalled, so I look everywhere, trying to figure out who can help, how do we get past these roadblocks, stumbling blocks, and stalls? There's people out there talking the talk and recognizing, the regenerative capital folks. Like today, even on LinkedIn, I've caught some people that were leading these regenerative frameworks that I pressed, like, hey, give me some consideration here. Is symbiotic a component or a support component possibility of your work? And it's getting dismissed. So it's quite difficult. But I stay the course because it is really that all those things. To be challenged on any word, not every single word I say, I can back up.
Right. So you've positioned Symbiotic around blockchain transparency. How critical is that trust layer?
Absolutely, very super critical. I mean, imagine trying to ask for 30% of someone's commission without it. So we prove it, map it, brand it as the cost of doing business. That's what we facilitate. So on the blockchain, and that's what the beauty of it is. It does that, and that's the radical common sense.
Yeah. So how could AI enhance impact verification and ESG reporting?
Well, don't know about that so much, but what AI does in our lane is to locate the buying opportunity from these procurement platforms, which we can connect to the diverse subject matter expert stellar. So we connect the dots between opportunity to setting a seller. We can accelerate that procurement process by leading with impact. And AI is the way of the future in terms of compute, seemingly, and that's not going anywhere. So rudimentary AI really says, okay, there's an opportunity, there's a scope of services that fit Symbiotic, and there's the subject matter expert seller. We connect those dots, we're going to have at least another solution for the buy side that has been led with impact, that has impact built in. So you have value add automatically and potentially accelerating the procurement process by harnessing AI to connect the dots. This all comes from me as a seller, starting to get in front of the opportunity, which is amazing. So you use the cost of doing business redistributed, to lead with impact to get in front of the opportunity. That's it. If you win that business on the merit alone, everybody wins.
Perfect. So are we heading toward a future where every invoice carries a verified social impact token?
I doubt it. this is a way. Here's a way. This is a system changing way to infiltrate business as usual. And who knows? Amazon transactions. They disrupted business as usual with easy transaction, easy consumption. They're not everywhere, but for sure they have made their mark on the planet in a negative way, except for the very few.
All right. So if you had unlimited AI engineering resources tomorrow, what would you build first?
I would build the platform, the SaaS platform we're describing. That's what
Yeah.
Symbiotic is. It's really just a platform, software as a service in the form of social impact as a service. Really plug and play. The people behind it are the relationships. They connect the dots and profit. The AI can find the most fitting channel partners, the most fitting buying partners, and begin this process of connecting the dots and to build the blocks back better with radical common sense.
Mm-hmm.
Proven, mapped, and branded via the blockchain. And the AI can connect those dots and, maybe build itself like a robot.
Yeah. So here's some quick questions for you. Capitalism, broken or evolving?
Ooh, late stage capitalism, broken, evolving from, this person, climate activist. So the only possibility, so capitalism itself is unlimited growth on a finite planet, which is, bam, we're here, look at the outcome. So broken, absolutely broken when you look at the outcomes of in nature. There's plastic in our bloodstreams, in our sperm, in our mother's milk. There's plastic everywhere. We're in a crisis of such deforestation, biodiversity loss, all due to reckless capitalism. So capitalism, one form of such, we need to entice, people to motivate for sure. There's some frameworks. It's not all or nothing. And that's where I think, the next step for humanity to evolve. It would take some of the parts of capitalism that inspire people and bring them over to a more symbiotic relationship with, and maybe symbiotic is the brand symbiotic that I'm talking about. Maybe that's a part of where we go, and that would be great.
Perfect. B Corp movement, symbolic or systemic?
The B Corp movement is not systemic. B Corp movement is an answer to the reckless capitalism, and symbolic. Yeah, it is a bit symbolic, but there's really high attestation to the frameworks that companies have to put forth to become B Corp. So it's regulated and it's strict. However, it's not all or nothing either. The B Corp movement doesn't mean you're doing great things all around. You're doing great things in these frameworks. And I've been canceled by a B Corp movement, which is another part of the story for another tale. And where it's funny where I'm living, anyway. There's much to be said about all that.
So the biggest misconception about ESG.
The biggest misconception is that it's a dirty word, is that it's bad. If we're talking about environment, that's where we live. You want clean air? Do you want clean water? I mean, really want that. You want to allow. So we're talking about capitalism itself. So we have, even when I talk about this is the paradox or the craziness is that the leader of the Sustainable Procurement Pledge is the chief procurement officer of Bayer, who owns Monsanto. Monsanto is Roundup, the biggest poisoner there is of crops. So you have this paradox, in two hands, they don't know what's going on. I don't even know where the stuff went, but yeah,
Well, misconceptions of ESG.
Yeah, ESG. No, but that is a framework of balance. We need to have the
Yeah.
Sustainable Development Goals, or 17 different goals put forth by the United Nations. And, people don't have trust in the United Nations because their bureaucratic red tape and BS and the law kinds of stuff
Yeah.
with the government.
Yeah.
But the goals are the goals. And so is ESG. So that's a framework, and the high road stuff. I talk about the high road all the time. So if we lean into the high road, that's all we got to do as people. Is to lean in, be open to change, open to it is what it is, awareness. And, the truth's in the matter, and not the story, the narrative. The narrative of ESG being, oh, GIO. Come on. Look who's telling you that.
Yeah.
Question. Curiosity is the answer. What does ESG mean? Not how it's conflated to make it look this way or that way, but the actual components. Why is it there? Why is ESG a acronym? It's a rebalance that has been, we've overlooked our environment, our social, the people, and the governance is the way to do so. So, yeah, without, accountability in the rule of law, what footing does democracy have? And the same thing with ESG. We need to protect our whole planet. This is where we live. We're not going anywhere else.
Yeah.
All of us.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's for sure one thing. If you don't have protection and things in line to protect our water, our air, and that, like the company you mentioned before, they'd be doing a lot more different things if there wasn't some sort of control.
And we're getting rollbacks on the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, rollbacks. And what's going on, which is alarming, is that the people stand for it. And it's primarily one party. So, I'm pretty out there. I could say that when left looks right and right looks wrong, this is where we're at.
Yeah, watch out. Okay, last question. One word to describe Symbiotic's mission.
I wrote rebalance. There's not one word, but
No.
yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's about
No. A few words is okay.
change for the better. Here's a
Yeah.
way to infiltrate business usual. And I like to say that we're like a Trojan horse. We're a Trojan horse vision. And we're the possibility of all the things stated. And again, I stand for it. Every single word that's stated. Any questions about anything, anybody sees this, and wide open to communicate at this stage.
Yes, perfect. Well, Jay, what you're building isn't just a company, it's a reimagination of how capitalism can function. Embedding social impact directly into procurement turns everyday transactions into catalysts for change. And if that scales, it shifts entire economic systems, not through disruption, but through an integration. So, Jay, how can people get a hold of you?
Easily, LinkedIn. Hopefully there's a link to my profile, but they can reach me via email, LinkedIn. I'm so easy to reach right now at this moment, and it's crazy how the distance of the ways to means of all those things. But LinkedIn is probably the best. Connect there, and if you could share the links with my email, please reach out.
Perfect. Good. So if you're a business looking to align procurement with purpose, this is a conversation you need to explore. Jay, thanks for coming on the Business Exchange and sharing your great ideas.
Well, thanks, Joseph. Hopefully do it again. Maybe we can be a little bit more concise. I know some of the questions and answers were a little bit spotty, and I see my screen is a little bit foggy, but I think we're on to something here potentially. And